welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, I am Sam. Today I'm going to be talking about Today I'm going to be talking about the things that I struggle with still as an autistic adult. Now this is obviously a totally personal list. Just because I struggle with these things doesn't mean that every autistic person will. But I just thought I would try and give you an insight into what it's like. I mean, I am kind of aware that on the outside I look like I've got everything together, but there is quite a lot of things that there are quite a lot of things I struggle with internally, and hopefully this will shed a bit of light on that. Sorry if I'm speaking a little bit softer, I have a little bit of sore throat today. So, number one. Sensory issues. Now this is actually something that I have felt is getting worse with time. So if you take, for example, if you're in the UK, you'll probably know the supermarket Asda, and it's like the Walmart equivalent. So basically going in there is an assault on your senses, no matter who you are, because there's signs everywhere, there's noise everywhere. There are smells everywhere a lot of the time, there's people everywhere, and this is the kind of thing that can easily lead me into maybe not quite a meltdown for me, but certainly shutdown. And so that's something that I have struggled with. Sorry. And now that I live in the Netherlands, they have a supermarket here called Albert Heijn, which has been trialing these autism hours. So like 1 hour a week they turn off the fluorescent lights and turn off all the booping noises, and it's supposed to be really awesome for people with autism, but it's kind of like, I don't know, why can't they do that the whole time? Why does shopping in a supermarket have to be an assault on the senses? So for me, we actually go to kind of like a Costco style place now for shopping, and a huge benefit of that, even though it's really big and there's a lot of stuff in there, so it's overwhelming in some ways, there's never anyone in there. Which means that I can take my time, it's not too noisy, and I don't get stressed out, because I sort of think, I mean, I make lists before I go to the supermarket, because if I have to think on my feet, I can't think when there is noise and stuff like that going on. So that's kind of like the main thing that sensory issues impact in my life. The other thing is when I do go out with friends or whatever, or go to a bar, the noise is sometimes so much, because obviously they pump the music up to keep atmosphere, and then when there's a lot of people, if it's a small place, it's crowded, there's like a lot going on, and actually I struggle to hear. And this is kind of part of the sensory processing issues. I've had my hearing tested multiple times as a teenager, because I had this problem even as a teenager. Whereas like all the background noise, you can hear everything the same. So like somebody talking on the next table is kind of, you can hear that just as well as the person next to you. So if you have a situation where there's all this noise, you know, I spend most of these times just basically like trying to, like an old person, I should get an ear trumpet. But I really struggle to differentiate sounds unless I'm like talking right to the person and they're right there. So if you're in a group situation, that kind of exacerbates it. So the sensory stuff, that's pretty much what it affects. Obviously when you are in control of your own environment inside of your house, you make adjustments to deal with that. So, you know, you have the right kind of lighting and you can keep it quiet. And so these are the things that don't really bother me too much. The only thing that I would say is just like, I'm extremely sensitive to things going on in my body, things going on with my clothes. So it's just like, I'm just more sensitive than the average person. But the sensory overload thing is really only if I go out to places like supermarkets. I don't go to concerts because exactly that. Any kind of like festivals or anything like that can prove tricky. But now I have a pair of noise cancelling headphones. It is much better. So, number 2, loud and confusing social situations. And what I mean by that is if you have a group of probably like 3 or more people, but let's say you have a group of 6 people and they're all having a conversation, I struggle to keep track of that, and I struggle to know when to interject. So it seems like I'm interrupting because I'm trying to say something, but I don't have this like natural sense of the conversation with a group of people. Whereas if it's one-on-one, that's a lot easier for me to focus on. So yeah, I'm not really like a big group person. I will say that the one thing that does help in these situations is alcohol, because it like numbs my sense of trying to keep track of everything. So that's maybe not like a good thing. And I definitely used to drink alcohol when I was in my early 20s to try and help with this. But obviously that's not really a great long-term strategy. So these social situations can be kind of exhausting for me, and that's really the thing, is like I'm trying so hard to keep up, and sometimes I can keep up, but it comes at a price, and the price is usually later that day or the next week, depending on how much effort I had to put into. So for example, at my own wedding, it was like it took me a couple of weeks to recover because it was just very intense, seeing a lot of people that I hadn't seen in a while. You know, it's things like that. But now that I'm more aware of it, I think I'm probably able to, you know, give myself the time and the space that I need for that. Number 3 is executive function. Now, what is that, you might ask? You probably know if you're watching this video that it's basically the organizing and planning, switching between tasks, and like regulating your attention and regulating your emotion. Regulating emotion maybe is not so relevant at this point, but executive function is the one part of autism that actually makes me feel like I have a disorder. It's something that I've struggled with my whole life, and I don't feel it's getting better. If anything, it's getting worse, because becoming a mother and having so much more sensory stuff going on, you know, every day you've got a little child in your ear, in your face, it makes me less able to do the other things that I usually, you know, I had a weakness before, but now it's like kind of a deficit. So I mean, what this looks like in reality is that I'm sort of seem chronically disorganized, but funnily enough, to some people I seem organized because I have all these strategies that I'm desperately trying to enact, and I have been trying for most of my life to do stuff like this. The amount of planners I've gone through, different ways to do things, you know, planning your meals, planning your, I don't know what. It's not something that comes naturally to me, and the hardest thing for me is the household stuff. So you know, for years I've tried to get onto a schedule with like Monday I clean the kitchen and Tuesday I clean the bathroom, that kind of thing. But then I will get thrown out of whack because I'll go on holiday or something, or not holiday, that sounds like I'm always on holiday, but like, you know, something will happen, or maybe I'll have a guest that weekend or something like that. My whole thing will get thrown off. I'll forget to start again, or it'll start, but it'll start on the wrong day. And then it's like the whole thing is out of whack and I can't pick it up again. And so it's like my life is constantly trying to get back onto this schedule that I'm doing, and a lot of the times failing. But this is something that I'm on a waiting list for some support here in the Netherlands, which is nice that they give support. And this is the kind of thing that they'll be helping with, like planning tasks, organizing your life. I mean, paperwork is pretty much my nightmare. And it's hard for me to stop blaming myself, because I've spent my whole life being like, well, I'm lazy, or I'm stupid, why can't I do this? And so I'm finally just allowing myself to be like, well, this is the autism, so how can I work with it? How can I work with the way that my brain works? And this is something that's actually quite a lot of overlap with ADHD in adults too, is this sort of chronic disorganization. So that's something that I need to work on, because it makes me extremely anxious to never have my shit in order. But it's also something that is the hardest for me to work on. Right, so what else? Relating to people and making small talk, even relating to my friends, is a struggle sometimes. And like small talk, you know, people will chit chat about the weather, and I'm like, well, I've got my app and I will tell you the weather forecast for the next 10 days. And look at the humidity, I mean, guys, really. So I think I just don't get the point of small talk. And that's okay. I think it's pretty pointless, but it does make things difficult in terms of social lubrication, which is another thing that I'm not very good at. Talking for the sake of talking. Which is funny because I really can go on quite a lot, I'm aware of that, especially on camera. But it's difficult, and I struggle to know whether I'm doing the right thing, whether I'm saying the right thing, or being emotional enough or emotive. Is my face making the right expression? And when you're constantly trying to regulate rather than actually concentrate on the conversation, it makes building relationships kind of tricky, unless you are with another neurodivergent person, I guess. But the relating to people can be difficult because I know that I'm different from them on a fundamental level. And so that's something that I'm trying to work on, because I've spent so much of my life really trying so hard with friends. And in the last year or so, I've just been like a little bit more chill about the whole thing. Trying to, like, if a friendship's meant to work out, then it'll work out, but like try not to push anything too much. Kitty. I wish you could see her, she's so sweet, but I don't want to move the camera. So yeah, that's something that I do struggle with, but I find that the older I get and the more I know myself, the easier it does get, because it means like, if there's someone that I know I'm not going to get on with, I'm not trying to make them like me or anything. And it means that I sort of know who I'm going to get on with a little bit better. So that is something that it has got easier since I was a child and since I was a teenager, but it is still difficult when the world expects, you know, adult behaviour to have a certain level of social competence that I sort of feel like I'm not quite there yet. And the last one, we're almost there, guys. Hang in there with me. The last thing that I struggle with the most is internal monologuing. And I think probably this is also similar for people with ADHD, but almost certainly there are others with autism who feel the way that I do, is that you constantly have something going on in your head. It gets very busy in there. And when I think I maybe said in the previous video, when I'm the quietest on the outside, sometimes that's when the most is going on in the inside. And it's, to be honest, it's kind of exhausting that it's almost like you have a driver in there that's just not letting you get any peace. And I mean, it doesn't help with the social situations like I was talking about, you know, trying to relate to people and you're concentrating so hard on picking up all their cues and thinking, am I doing this right? Am I doing this right? And you're actually not really delving into a conversation with someone because you're still stuck up and living in your own head. And there are some times when my internal monologue is actually louder than the voices around me, so I'm so deep into my own head that I don't hear what someone's saying in the room because this is louder. And that's the thing, it is exhausting living like that. And I think that's probably the reason that I've always been a big sleeper. I really love sleep, and it takes me a long time to catch up with everything. And that's kind of like the price that you pay for being a high masker. As somebody who masks a lot, and a lot of people will be like, oh, you don't look autistic. Well, no, but that's because I'm trying so hard not to. And that's a habit that I might break in the future. I don't know. But the price that you pay for masking is that you crash and you run out of energy. And especially when there's so much going on in your head in the first place, there isn't really a whole lot of energy to go around. Right, so my throat is packing up a little bit now. I can feel it gone from a tickle into a hoarse, sexy deep voice. Maybe not that sexy. I hope that the sound even picked it up all right. Anyway, I hope you liked this video. If this resonates with you, please give me a thumbs up or leave a comment, or let me know what you struggle with as an autistic adult, because like I said, it's really different from person to person, and I think it's important that people know what it is that autism is and how it does affect us on a day-to-day basis. So thank you for watching. If you made it this far, you are very welcome. That doesn't make sense. What am I trying to say? You are appreciated, yeah. Sorry, the words are not really coming out today, but I wanted to make this video anyway. So yeah, give me a thumbs up and share this. It would mean a lot to me, and I will see you next time. Bye.